Baby, I ain't.
We asking for help.
Y'all,
Help me.
help me. I am a child.
I'm a baby.
I'm just a baby. I'm out here.
Help.
I literally think about this all the time. I look around and I'm like, wow, I am really a child out here trying to be an adult. Like, I need help. I want help.
The more kids
look
I
for
have,
help.
the more I feel like a kid. Let's go there.
Like a really bad mom. Quote unquote, I'm tired of people in my race. So I need to find me somebody white. This is how I knew that Brian
Don't do it.
was going to be a great physical partner.
Don't tell them. Hey everyone, welcome to the Let's Get Deep podcast, where we have conversations about our lives that most people would never. And today, one of those conversations is going to be a deep dive into a myriad of things. And one of those things that we're going to kick it off with is postpartum.
It's very interesting because we literally had a conversation with a friend about postpartum and just the differences that people experience. So I want to have this conversation because I don't know why I feel weird sharing my story of postpartum, even though I think it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
I think that people feel very weird about it.
And that leads to a bigger conversation that we're going to have today. So let's get into it right away though, because there's a lot of different like nuances and components to this and how it impacts your emotions that I want to dig into.
Yeah. Okay. So both of my pregnancies were very different. Some of you may know this. Those that have followed us, we ended up going through IVF with both of our kids. And I had Asa in 2020, and we're not talking about the end of 2020. We're talking about the beginning of 2020.
The thick of it.
Very
the
thick
quarantine
of it.
was 3 weeks.
Yes.
And then we had Asa.
Yes. So it was insane. And I remember calling the hospitals, just trying to see what to do. And they were running rampant. I felt like I called and the stock just, what is it? The stock market crashed. It sounded like the stock market crashed. Like,
well, the stock market kind of was crashing at the time, but here nor there.
But it felt like papers were running around. Like, it was so crazy, and they didn't know what they were going to do. They weren't even sure if Brian was going to come in. So long story short, I ended up doing a home birth. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely beautiful. You guys can watch it on YouTube. What was very interesting in having a home birth was learning a lot about how midwives and doulas believe you should take care of your body. And this is where it gets kind of weird because this is all I've experienced. I've only experienced what I've been told. And so when people tell me to do something, I really listen. And when I had Asa...
That's not always true. I tell you to eat more and you don't.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
When professionals, I'm playing no, but when the midwives told me what to do after I had Asa, I really listened. So I stayed in bed after I had Asa for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And when I mean stayed in bed, meaning like the first week, I did not get up unless I needed to go to the bathroom. The second week, I stayed on the floor where my bed was. And I want to say around the third week, I was able to kind of go up and down the stairs, but I mainly stayed in bed. Food was brought to me. The baby was brought to me. There was no time that I really got up and changed the baby. Brian did that, but everything was brought to me for the first 3 weeks. Why is this weird? What's weird about it is that when I tell other people what I did, it is almost like, girl, what? You really stayed in bed for 3 weeks after your baby? I mean, I went to work the next week. Or like, girl, I'm fine. I've been walking around. I've been changing the diaper. I've been doing all this stuff. Like, why did you do that? And so when people hear the first time, they kind of give a little grace. Like, okay, maybe it was her first time. And they give this weird excuse. When I did it the second time with Elijah, people were really like, what are you doing?
So what people are these? Is this social media? Is this your friends? Is this your family? Is this random people who feel like their opinion matters to you?
I think it's mainly moms that I talk to. Some of them are my friends. Some of them are family. I think what's interesting is that my my moms were very understanding, and they were very like, yeah, we're going to do this. She needs to rest, even though they didn't do it in their pregnancy.
I was going to say that's interesting to me because I would feel like it's almost the opposite, where if our moms didn't get to experience that because they didn't have that level of support, that they would be the ones to be like, well, I did this, so you can too. And, you know, you're on your own, or not that you're on your own, but like, muscle up, buttercup.
Yeah.
I did. You do what you got to do. You're a mom.
I felt that, like, and I think a lot of that might have been subconscious with thinking about my moms, but I would say for the majority of the time, they were like, no, you need to rest. You need to sit. You need to be. And I am that person that if you tell me to rest, if you tell me to sit, I'm going to sit. Like, I'm not, unless I really feel like I am anxious and need to go out. But I felt like I ran a whole marathon after going into labor. I was in labor for 32 hours with Asa. I was in labor for 16 hours with Elijah.
That was a hard labor.
And Elijah
Intense
was
labor.
harder. So, and more intense. So I was resting. I've been pregnant for 9 months. Like,
Can I take a PTO week?
can I take a week? And so I hear a lot of people are like, well, I can't do that. I got to cook for my man. I got to do this. I got to go to work. And I understand those things, but I felt like I can understand those things from their perspective. But looking at me, it was like, why did you need, it gives this impression when I talk to other moms, like, why did you need all that time?
Do you feel like they're looking at you as if you're like spoiled?
Yes, absolutely.
So is it the fact that you're being taken care of that they feel is the spoiling, or it's that you are like placing a demand on other people to serve you?
I think that the word spoiled, I think they can look at me and think, like, girl, did you really need all that time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got up, I was fine.
But what doesn't make sense to me about that is, what is the difference between, I mean, there's a huge difference, but like, flow with me here. What is the difference between having a baby and having surgery in the sense of the need for physical recovery, mental recovery, right? Emotional recovery? It's 10 times more for most cases when you have a baby to emotionally recover, mentally recover, but most importantly, physically recover. From the simple fact that a child has just exited your physical body that has caused incredible levels of stress. Why is that different than you going to the doctor and him saying, hey, your leg just busted. We're going to put it in a cast for 3 weeks. You don't hear people saying, I mean, maybe macho dudes, maybe, but like, you don't hear people saying, well, I took that cast right off and I just got back to playing basketball.
Yeah.
Like, your career is not going to last very long if you just shed the cast and start playing again.
And I also think that I truly believe that midwives and doulas know the importance of rest, and also feeling like you should be taken care of because of what you did. You birthed a whole baby. You had a whole baby. Like, you should rest. And I don't, and I truly believe there's so many physical attributes to that. But on the other side, I do think that there is mental rest when you are being taken care of.
Yeah.
Because of what you just did. You deserve to rest. And so I think that mentally I felt in a better place because I was able to rest. And you have to I feel like you have to remind people that regardless whether you do a C-section or you have a vaginal birth or, you know, whatever you did, epidural, whatever you did, you had a whole placenta in your body. That is an organ.
It's a whole
that
organ.
Was torn off of your body. Yes, I do believe you need to rest. And when you don't do it, you prolong the process.
And that's it. I'm going to make a statement and I'm going to be careful with it, but I think in general, a lot of people downplay the need of mental health or mental rest because they are not in an environment that may allow for it. Mm-hmm. And because they are in a situation where they have to muscle up and push through, or just figure it out, those who are not in that situation may be looked down upon.
Yeah.
That might be a strong statement, and I don't mean that to be a universal statement. Most of the statements that I make on this podcast, I don't mean to broad brush or generalize or anything like that, but I do know from experience that many people make statements from the position or the environment that they are in and what their experience has told them to expect.
And they project that out.
And they project that out to someone who does not have to go through that experience. And I can understand it.
Yeah.
I get it. If you feel stressed out of your mind because you are taking care of this infant and your husband has to go back to work, your husband doesn't get paternity leave to help you, you don't have the family support that someone else has. It's you.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. The woman may even be on maternity leave, but no one else can be there with her.
So many things they have to do.
So she has to figure it out.
Yes.
And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but I don't get it. Let me clarify. I don't understand that pressure personally.
Yeah.
But I can understand how that would weigh on someone and make it very painful to see someone else experience something with the level of comfort and surrounding environment that you had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that sometimes I never want to dim my light because I don't believe you should. With that being said, but with that being said, I do believe that there is a space for creating atmospheres to help others see that they don't have to do it alone if they are able, not if they aren't, if they have the support, they don't have to do it alone.
But I also think that there's a lot of those same people you have offered to help. You have offered to support.
Gosh.
So let's talk about that because you have offered to help them.
There are a few people,
you have offered to go there, to support them, to bring food, to cook, to clean, to take care of the baby so they can get a nap. Whatever the case, whatever you can do to serve, you have offered that. Yet most of the time you are denied or they never hit you up or they never ask for whatever reason. These are people who are either close to you. Some of them aren't close to you, but you still have offered.
Yes.
So regardless of like the social structure of familiarity or relationship, this goes across the board. Very few times has anyone in your life that I have seen accept that.
Agreed.
Any mothers, new mothers, current mothers, people have not accepted that invitation. Yep. And I don't think that's we don't like Lexi problem, first of all, because they love you.
Yeah.
These are people that you're in relationship with.
I think it's hard for people to ask for help. And let me tell you, baby, I ain't.
We asking for help.
Y'all,
help
me. I am a child.
I'm a baby.
I'm just a baby. I'm out here. I literally think about this all the time. I look around, I'm like, wow, I am really a child out here trying to be an adult. Like, I need help. I want help.
The more kids I have,
help.
the more I feel like a kid.
I'm like, bruh, I told Brian the other day, I'm like, man, there are certain things that happen when we don't know what we're going to eat at night because we didn't think about dinner like mature adults, where I'm just sitting here and I'm like, dog, why am I a child?
I promise you.
Like a freaking adult, Lexi.
Lexi and I will stare at each other a good 5 days out of the week around 5 o'clock and look at each other like, what are we doing for dinner? Nothing is thawed. There was no intention or foresight behind this. We have no plan.
Goodness.
But we have two humans that need to eat.
We have two humans that need to eat. And me and you, we need to eat.
Man, we figured it out. We survived.
Oh my gosh. So when I tell you that we have no problem asking for help, maybe that's a middle child thing. I don't know. But we legit do not have a problem asking for help. And we don't mind people being in a space where maybe it's uncomfortable. For those of you that don't know, when I was in labor for 16 hours, my best friends were the ones that were in the midst of it. I'm talking about I'm completely naked. I am bleeding. I am throwing up. But in my mind, that is the space we're supposed to be in.
Thank you for the details.
But that's what we're supposed to be in. So
Absolutely.
We aren't afraid to bring people in spaces that maybe other people be like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to show people the real. No, I'd rather you come in. If you say you're going to help me, then come on in and help.
Okay, so we do ask for help, and I'm going to put that part on pause because there's more I want to dig into with that in a second. But I don't want to get away from the fact that other people, other mothers specifically have been offered help, but somehow don't take you up on it, right?
Yeah.
So
This
with
is not
that,
for the moms that do not have any support, because that is different and that is very difficult. And sometimes you have to get up. Sometimes you have to get up the next day after you have a baby. So for those that I have talked to ask for help, no, they have not.
that's the point that I'm making. Do you feel like there is a social pressure on mothers in general to have to like live up to this standard of our foremothers in generations ago of how difficult things were, how much they had to do in the house and for the family, and what mothers supposed to be everything and all things? Like, do you think there's a social pressure to that mothers nowadays feel like they have to live up to, and that's why? Or do you think it's just deeper than that? It's more of like people don't know how to ask for help or receive help
I think
or be vulnerable.
I think society, not fully. I think if anything, postpartum is a vulnerable space. And when it comes to, you just had a baby, your house is a mess, you didn't do the dishes, I feel like people have a certain image that they want to make sure that they show.
That's fair.
And you're going in helping when the image is distorted. You have so many things that are going on. The house is a mess. And a lot of times, whether it's the men or it's the woman that doesn't want people in that space.
I think that's a very good point, and I think it goes way beyond just the conversation that we're having now. That's in life. When you feel like your life, which is what you're saying, your house, if you feel like your life is in shambles or your life is not put together, your life is not tidy, that's a time where a lot of people start to shut people out.
Yeah.
Because I don't have my house in order. I don't have my life in order. I don't have my emotions in order. I can't look the part that I'm trying to look. And so vulnerability is now closed off, when in fact, that is the one time that you need to bring people in that are close and can be trusted and have proven to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
Bring them into your space to help you get your life where you want it to be. And that dynamic is so interesting to me, because at the time where you need it the most, that's the time that you push people away.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing about it is you want to bring somebody in, but maybe you have not created a space for a relationship where you feel safe to bring those people in. You have to have safety. As much as I do ask for help, I want to make it clear, I ask the same people for help.
I don't just
listen. Like out here. And sometimes I do, we have a friend that we absolutely love that, cooks. So she made us food, one time. And that was very nice during my postpartum period. But I wasn't expecting her to do that. That was something that naturally just happened. When it comes to when it comes to me asking, I'm asking the people that I trust and that have been in this space with me. I don't know if a lot of people have people that are in that space with them in the thick of it.
That's true. First of all, I don't think a lot of people do. I think it's very rare. Our situation is rare. I think the level and the degree of community that we have, the village that we have surrounded ourselves with to support across the board, not just with children, but just our lives, is something that we have worked very hard at building, but it's also still rare. But what I've also seen you and I do is with relationships, with the ones that are not in the inner circle, if you will, we start off, but we give a level of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And we see what people do with that level of vulnerability. And if they respond in a way that we feel they have our best interest at heart and they're covering us, they're protecting us, they care about us, then we may increase that level of vulnerability. And you and I have shown that we're willing to do that and go down that process to establish the deeper levels to the point where you feel comfortable enough to bring your friends in to see all those things while you're having birth. It doesn't just happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. I also think that I was actually having a conversation with Leah today about this, and she said something that kind of annoyed me a little bit, because I think people have this persona of me that is not true.
What is it?
So we were talking about a situation that happened, and I was just telling her, I'm like, yeah, I want to make sure in my relationships that there is, just open communication. There's openness to share like deep, the depth of you. And she was like, well, you're open to sharing things with anybody, and everybody's not like you. And I said, I was really taken aback by it, because that is not true. I think that we share when we want to share. Are we transparent? Yes. Do we open up to people? Yes. But there are seasons and there's moments where we only share certain attributes, and we only share to certain people. But we do believe that there is a calling for us to be vulnerable. But we don't, it may look like that, but we don't share everything.
Well, I think with our lives being on social media and us being transparent people, I do think it's very easy to create a perception of, well, they just tell everything, or they don't keep things to themselves, and I would say I'm more open than you.
And please tell the people that, because that is wild that people think that I do believe in vulnerability, but you are more open than me.
I am the definition of being open. I'm the type of person, like, I'm just going to tell you everything, and then you can decide what you want to do with that.
Yes.
And if you like me, great. If you don't, unfortunate, but here we are.
Yeah.
Like, you are like, they don't need to know that. That's not their business. That's personal. That's between you and me. Like, you screen things.
Yes.
So we absolutely, and even things we share on social media, it is selective. It is chosen. It is still transparent.
Yeah.
But what, when, why, how, those are still factors that we consider when we share things on social media. Y'all don't know everything, and y'all never will, and y'all not supposed to. And guess what?
Yeah.
I don't want to know everything about y'all either. You need to keep some things private. But at the end of the day, we share as much as we are feeling good about sharing that will be to the benefit of other people.
Absolutely. I think that we put ourselves out on the line to a degree where we're like, I want people to feel safe. I want people to come close and trust that this is a space where you can talk. That's what we do. And with that, like you said, it's not just on social media. We are like that in general, because I honestly get tired of this facade that people want to have where, oh my gosh, our marriage is so perfect. Everything is 100%. Nothing goes wrong. We are, we do the same things every day. Like, everything is fine. Nothing's wrong. I don't want that. I want people to feel, like me and Brian were having an issue the other day, and I don't do that on purpose. We don't do that just to say it. We would actually be honest about it and open.
I think for me too, what it's developed, and I didn't start this way, but it's developed an ability to take on comments and opinions, because I used to be very transparent and open and just tell all my business.
Yeah.
But then also be hurt when people had opinions about my business.
Yes.
So it was not a healthy relationship that I had with the public of humanity, because I would put myself in stupid situations, not emotionally mature enough to handle the reverb or repercussions of that.
Yeah.
I have built a strength and confidence in myself, even since being on social media, where I now can share and be transparent, but my identity is not shifting with people's opinions of what I'm sharing.
Right.
And I think that we have also been careful, because if we're not in that space, there's been conversations, even when we talked about in the podcast a couple weeks ago, of what to do when we went to Texas for the Ironman and Asa got sick. That was a conversation we did not share, because we were emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah.
And we did not feel like we were secure enough in our decision to share that, because the comments would get intense.
Yeah, they would.
And that was going to be hurtful. So we had to be careful about how to go about that.
Yep. I think that it's hard to have this life sometimes and then be viewed a certain way. Whether it's because of our lifestyle, how we have a bunch of people around, or how we share a lot of our life. And people think they are so different than us because we share. And it's like, no, we just believe that there is a good in being vulnerable to a degree, but there are things that we keep to ourselves.
And I don't think that we are the standard of what someone should be either. I believe that God created different personalities on purpose. God
Absolutely.
created introverts, extroverts, apparently ambiverts, because that's what you are. He created them with intention, meaning that there are people designed not to overshare or to be more private.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay to a degree.
Yes. Find your person, find your group, find your team. All of that matters, because if you don't, then you will be living this life alone. That your marriage is not supposed to be something that you just keep private just between you and your husband. I don't care if the church thinks differently. You're supposed to have people that you go to and ask, like, am I crazy? Is this wrong? Is he tripping? Am I tripping? Because I will tell you, some of these, I don't want to say it, but some of these churches be having y'all out here being depressed and upset and all of these things on your own because you don't want to talk to nobody.
And that's the point. You don't need to share with the world. Share with the people who are having your best interest at heart.
Share with somebody.
And where I think it becomes, I don't want to use the word toxic, it just becomes unhealthy and unproductive for your life, is when there are people who do care about you that you are intentionally pushing away out of some level of fear or prevention of vulnerability that truly can help and support you.
And I will say, like, I have been, to bring it back, I guess, but I've been so blessed to have an amazing group of people around me, my family, my friends, my husband, my kids. Like, I am just surrounded by people that are willing and want to genuinely help me. And I want to give that back.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you feel guilt for the lifestyle that you lead?
Guilt?
Maybe, I would say, guilt or embarrassment, or not shame. Maybe like lesser degrees of these words. Do you feel uncomfortable?
No. No.
Tell me why.
I don't. Guilt and shame?
Here's the reason why I'm asking the question, because there's been too many times, for lack of a better term, people have made fun of or despised or made backhanded, passive aggressive comments about the ease of what our life looks like. That, oh, you guys have it all. Like, you can't say anything is difficult. You can't say anything is hard because you have a nanny, because you have family that supports you, because you get to go on date night because your mom takes the kids every week. You get to do X, Y, Z. You have the ability to do this. You have this X, Y, like, fill in the blank. Take your pick. Because people have made comments about your lifestyle being easy and you not having the right to complain, the right to say that you feel pressure or stress. Does that ever put you in an uncomfortable situation?
I don't think it puts me in an uncomfortable situation. I think there are times I choose who I talk to about certain things and who I don't. I believe that we work our butts off, and we have worked our butts off to get to where we are. That's not the case. And you know what? Literally the other day, somebody said something to me like those. Somebody said, like, they're dealing with being struggling with being a stay-at-home mom now. And I gave like a thing of like, yeah, like stay-at-home mom can be hard. And I was talking about when I was a stay-at-home mom, not when I had a nanny or when I had help. And she immediately snapped back, was like, I'm not talking about people that got a nanny and stuff like that. I was like,
oh, that came from a place.
I was like, well, that wasn't what I was talking about. I didn't always have a nanny. I didn't always have help. I was still editing with Asa on my lap. I was still shooting and doing all the things.
No, you weren't just, first of all, you've never been a stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home moms don't have full-time jobs.
I did have a full-time job.
I
worked doing from home. I worked from
full-time work for our social media and managing our business, managing our management teams, and the posting and editing and shooting while watching a child.
Yeah.
That's more than being a stay-at-home mom.
And during that time, Brian was gone. And when I mean gone, meaning he was traveling. So it was just not easy. It was not easy.
I think I struggle sometimes with this because I think the conversation about you having all these things or having this atmosphere or environment that's full of peace and joy and happiness and, like we have, number one, we have worked hard. We have.
Absolutely.
I don't understand the mentality of jealousy in these situations or of putting people down because we are trying to create a lifestyle for ourselves that is what God has intended for people to have. And I feel like if we are living a lifestyle in all the components that God has intended, why is that a negative thing?
Yeah.
Why is it negative to have support, to have peace, to have finances, to have the ability to stay home and spend time with our kids? Like, that's what we were striving for all these years.
Yeah.
I was working a full-time job and coming home and working full-time for social media to build the business that we have, to be in the situation that we're in, to afford the things that we can, to live the lifestyle that we have.
Now, I think there's the other side, and I always like to play angel's advocate because sometimes, and I don't think it's us, but I do think that people that are in situations where their lifestyles are different, they come in and they brag in the way they talk.
That's real.
Makes people not want to be around them. And so I can 100% say that's not us and that's not what we do. But I also believe that sometimes we have to be, one, think about how we are showing up in these settings. And then two, what kind of people are we around when we have to question these things?
I think the second one is what I personally struggled with for a while. It was an ignorance to how I sounded to other people. The first one, we've never had an issue with. We don't brag. We're not arrogant.
People don't even
We're
have
very
the things
humble.
that we even do. We could do something very big for each other and don't even post it. Don't
Yeah.
even tell anybody about it.
And it's truly, we are humbled to be in the position that we're in. However, number two, I have seen, and I cringe at it sometimes now, but I've seen in my life where I may have said things out of my circumstance and my experience that could be looked at as, people could look sideways at it. And so I don't want to demean or belittle anyone by sharing carelessly phrases or terms or things that are very relative. And I think I've been caught in that position a number of times.
I think
in
that's
my
years
life.
ago, though, because I don't think you're like that now.
No, I'm not. But I
Yeah.
can see it. But that's what I'm saying. That's the only time that I could truly identify and empathize with someone like, yeah, that makes sense why you would look kind of sideways, right?
Yeah.
But where we are now and the way that we operate now, I just wish that people, this is just me personally, I'm just kind of sharing.
Yeah.
I wish that I could be comfortable in a space with people that they could ask me, if they feel comfortable enough, how did you get there? What can I do to get there? Hey, or they don't even have to want these things, and just say, man, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
And leave it at that.
Do you think that we're not surrounded by people that are like that?
I think that, oh, that's a loaded question.
You don't think so?
It's a loaded question. We are surrounded by people who want the best for us and who can celebrate where we are, even if they are not. We are surrounded by those people. And I also think that you and I have had to go through seasons of friendships and relationships that we found out were not benefiting us.
Yeah.
And that there were deeper things that we were being looked at sideways or talked about behind our back, not to our face. And we are no longer in relationship with said people. But there was a point where it was like,
Yeah.
we didn't know how to process that.
Yeah. And you just get kind of tired. I feel tired of and I will say this, I feel tired of trying to see who can I talk to, who I can't talk to, what can I say. And I feel like at this point, I know who I can talk to. I can't worry about like the people that are outside. I only have to focus on the people that are in my nucleus, in my circle of like, these are the people that I can go to when I can be excited about something. And even like some of my close friends, we had to have conversation because there was some hits that they've said. There are some things that's been said, but we learned how to grow from it and be better. But I am now focused on people that I know for sure I can talk to about it.
And I think that's it. I think that our core group of people we have built relational equity
Yeah.
that we now trust to have our best interest and truly want what's best for us, and only that.
Yeah. Do you feel weird about the amount of support that we need in our lifestyle?
Need and want are different.
Want both.
I don't think that we need the amount of support that we have. I think that we are happy to have the amount of support that we have, but no, I think we need our nanny because we could not do this business on a daily basis with someone not watching the kids. Someone's got to watch these kids.
Yeah.
So I say that's a need. All the other things are wants.
I think so. When I went through postpartum, Brian's mom and my mom stayed in our house for
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
They spent the night every night. Well, my parents were actually living with us in our basement at the time. But your mom stayed.
But your mom could have left because her house was done. They could have left.
They could have left.
But they stayed until 6 weeks, and they both left the same weekend. I am still, if y'all are listening to this, I am still upset that y'all decided to leave the same day.
First of all,
that was
I'm just
wild.
grateful. I'm grateful y'all stayed the whole 6 weeks. That's all I'm saying.
I'm happy, but wow, y'all could have separated it. But even that, like, I felt very grateful, and I felt like it was definitely needed for me. It may not have been needed for everybody else, but it was needed for me. I know that was a blessing. And
the reason why I say not need, though, is because there have been situations and scenarios that you and I have felt like, how in the world are we going to survive without the support that we have? That support would be taken away, and yet somehow we do figure it out. I can't say it's a need. Now, those first 2 or 3 weeks, that was a need.
Yeah.
We needed their support.
Yeah, of course we would have figured it out. But I think that there is a blessing in that story, and knowing that honestly in other countries, this is not so foreign.
It's not.
Rest and to have help in life. And when I mean in life, I mean like your family is always around, always helpful. And in other cultures, this is normal. That's why in other, we are in Michigan, but in other places like Texas, they're building multi-generational homes because the whole family lives in the house because they're all helping each other. Why is that so weird?
I don't know. And honestly, we have a lot of people in our following and audience on YouTube, podcasts, wherever, that are from these other countries. If y'all can just put in the comments,
stories.
How much time do you get if you have a baby off work? Because I have heard people tell me that they have a year off if they have a baby. A year.
I heard there are some places that paternal leave is 6 months.
Paternal. With a P.
With a P.
Daddy time. 6 months.
Wild.
It's wild to us, but I think we do surround ourselves with a lot of support. Do you think that we almost have too much support, or we kind of focus on each other more than the kids? So we do have this support group, right? Unapologetically, might I say. But
Period.
It has allowed us to do things like weekly date nights. It's allowed us to go on more than one trip a year together on vacation or work trips or wherever. But do you think that that's almost, I don't want to say enabled, but also not empowered? Do you think that's created an atmosphere where you and I almost put more effort into each other in relation to our kids than we should? Do you think our focus is too much on each other rather than the family dynamic that we're building with our children?
I don't think so. I think that we are learning. It is not fair to ask that question now when we have an 8-month-old and a 3-year-old.
Why is it not fair?
Because I feel like we are learning how to be a family unit, period. There's a difference between having one and taking that one together and doing something. You know, I took Asa everywhere with me.
Yeah, you did.
Like, it was, and we talk about swim class, like what we do swim class now. I feel like you should get in the water every single time because I was taking Asa to swim. I was doing it with her.
First
like,
of all,
I did life with her.
First of all, just because you took her to swim doesn't mean I have to get in the water every time.
You got to get in the water every time because today we had to swim with the kids and I got in the water and I was like, wow, I was going in the water for a whole, because just because we missed that last year, I was doing it for a while with Asa.
You were.
By myself. And so when I think about, like, do I put effort into the kids? I do. Right now, I think we're learning how to be a family unit together as 4 versus 1 where you can, you know, take Asa anywhere. You know, and now Asa is able to do things on her own and support herself to a degree. So she's able to kind of run around, and we kind of had that gap where she's doing so much stuff and we can just kind of be. Yeah. And that was kind of normal. But now we're learning how to bring everybody in, and I think it feels awkward. It feels weird.
Yeah, I can identify with that. I agree with that. I think that I felt guilt for a while personally because I just never felt like I was spending enough time with the kids. Mm-hmm. Our lifestyles were very busy. Our schedule was busy. But then I looked back and I actually analyzed the time that I was spending with Asa. And number one, this is when we just had Asa, but number one, there was a lot of quality time with her that I spent. When I was with her, I was with her. Yeah. But number two, I looked at it and I started thinking back about how much time I got with my father when I was a kid. Completely different. My dad would leave work at 6 a.m., get up super early before I woke up as a kid, and he would come back around 6. My bedtime was 8. He would come home. Yeah. He would eat dinner. We had some conversation. Maybe we play together, and then it's bedtime. I never felt deficient of time with my dad, though. I never felt like a void, like I couldn't spend time with him or I didn't have enough time with him. I felt like the time we had that he gave me was quality time. And on weekends we spent together. And I started looking at how much time I was spending with Asa, and I'm like, you know what? I spend a lot of time with this girl. And now, even with the kids now, we are very intentional and focused with how we go about with them. You and I do spend a lot of time together, just the two of us.
We do.
We do. And I love it. Yeah. Number one. But I also don't think that just because we spend a lot of time together that the kids, for any sense, feel like they're missing out on us.
Yeah. I feel now we are going to be traveling a lot this year, but I feel that
we're also traveling more with them, though.
We are. But I feel it's like sometimes, again, kind of like what we talked about in our last segment, we were talking about sex, but it's not, I don't think it's always about the quantity of time. Yeah. I think it matters the quality of that time. Like, we are giving full attention. Like, when we do swim, I want to make sure that at least most of the time that Asa looks back, she sees me looking at her. Yeah. You know, it's just these small little moments that I feel is so important for her to know that I'm right here. I love you. I want you to see me see you. And that's important to me. So I do believe that there is a point of quality versus quantity. And I'm not saying that we don't assess each other when it comes to time, because I do believe that we do. We need to make sure that we're spending time with our children. But I think what is, to me, more important is the quality of time.
Well, when I realized that I need to let it go and not be guilty was when I spent literally 3 days in a row. It was a long weekend. I spent 3 days in a row, every waking moment with Asa, doing fun activities, going every place, talking, spending time. I was with her.
What 3 days?
I don't remember. It was some like long vacation. It was 6 months ago or something.
Oh, when you went up north?
No, I don't remember when. But I just remember.
You did.
I did. But I was with her for time, serious time. And at the end of the trip, or at the end of the time together, she looks at me and she goes, I miss my daddy. I'm like, girl.
But I'm telling you, it's wild, these kids. It's wild. No, or when I went to when you went to the bachelor party with Matthew,
Yep.
and I had the kids, and I wanted to take Aza to the state fair so bad, and so I asked mom and dad Cole if they can watch Elijah while I'll go take Aza to the state fair, and we did all the things. She loved it, and then she cried at the end.
It's like, wait,
what's the point?
What are we
Do y'all
doing?
struggle with this?
What are we doing?
Do y'all struggle with this? Because I feel it's so weird after having a grand day and then you cry as if you did not have a good day at the end.
As if the whole last 8 hours of the day
Meant
was just nothing.
Just threw it in the trash.
I'll tell you, parenting is a sacrifice every day.
But I think about those things and I feel like I do care. I do care. That whole weekend that I was by myself. I took the kids outside. I did things with them because I wanted to. And I wanted to do something fun for them.
Yeah.
So,
well, this has been, I love it. We talked about a number of things, but I felt like I'm more so really interested to hear comments about these things.
Yes.
Because we touched on a lot of different topics that are potentially touchy. And some of them I haven't even like fully vetted through how I feel personally, but that's what we're here to talk about.
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the podcast. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to check out the full YouTube video on this at The Cole Life. And then check out, of course, our Instagram at _. Oh, well, that's that.
There we go.